everybody, thanks for joining me. My name is Ann Francis. I am a Andis educator and professional pet groomer for 23 years. I groom at the Village Groomer in Walpole, Massachusetts, which is just south of Boston. I have my dog Nikki here today to talk to you about nails. I hope you guys can all see everything. I know there's a little bit of a glare on me. I was trying to fix that, but let me know in the comments if you guys need me to change something. So, nail clipping. That's probably one of the most common things that pet parents either struggle with or are a little hesitant about cutting their own dog's nails. Now, most dogs that I see, they come in for grooming about every 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little bit more. Now, I'm going to say something that may shock you a little bit. I cut my personal dog's nails once a week. So that gives you kind of a perspective. So one of the main things with nail trimmings is going to be training your dog. Now, if you're lucky enough to get a puppy and you can start right from the start, and if you're getting it from a reputable breeder, they should be working with those puppies even before they go home to parents. So you want to really start young, getting the dog desensitized, used to these things. A lot of people, I don't know if they think that their dogs are just gonna be used to it or what, but I say start as young as possible. Then of course there is rescue dogs, which we often don't know anything about their past. And I've dealt with my fair share of those. I actually own a pit bull that has taken me 6 years to be able to trim and Dremel his nails in one sitting. And I do this for a living. So don't feel bad if you guys are struggling at home. I want to give you some tips that may help you. So first things first, you want to get your equipment together and you want to get a plan. So hopefully you started training young, you've started learning your new dog's habits and things like that. And you want to start having them be comfortable with you touching their feet, touching their nails, things like that. I'm just applying a little bit of pressure. I often recommend that people get a cheap cordless toothbrush and use that with the dogs so they hear something like a nail grinder. And they also are used to having something that's power, like a clipper, if we're going to do their pads, near their feet, and they start to get to know those sounds. So I am a big positive reinforcement person. So when I see a dog at the grooming salon, I try to do that as much as I can. However, I can't teach a dog months of training in an hour appointment. So if you're working with your dog, I say a high value treat, something that they really like, something that they're not going to say no to. Use that. And if you have somebody that can help you at home, that's another great thing. So if you're with your partner, and it has to be somebody that completely understands that they're not going to drop the dog if the dog, squirms, or if the dog goes to bite, God forbid, or if the dog starts to pee. That person has to be trusted to hold that dog and make the dog feel secure. So once they understand that, if you have somebody who can help you, it is a lot more easy because the dogs tend to be squirmy. So if your dog is super chill, relaxed, and will let you do nails in any position, that's great. One of my other poodles will lay upside down in my lap and he'll let me do them while I do TV time. He lets me brush him that way as well. However, he's been trained since he was, weeks old. So if you have somebody, and what I recommend is coming in and holding the dog like this. This way, all 4 feet are exposed to the person who's going to be cutting the nails. Now, you can see that her head is real close to my face. So what I recommend is that you bring this in your hand here and you kind of gently rest her head down here, but you're making sure that she's not going to come back and be able to bite your face. That's another thing with that whole peanut butter trick. With people putting it on their head, that can be a very dangerous thing. I am more than, agree with using peanut butter as a deterrent, a distraction, but don't put it on your head. Have somebody help you or put it on the wall. I've seen that. A lot of times there's tools that have a suction cup that you can smear peanut butter on and stick it against the tub. That's a great thing. If you have a larger dog and you have somebody helping you, pretend she's a big dog. I recommend coming under like this and over like this. And you're not, putting any pressure on their head. What you're doing is you're just securing it so she can't come up and bite me in the face. So, if you have help, that's great. If you don't have help, if you have a smaller dog, you can either hold it yourself or you can try to find an area that's a little bit higher up. Some people will use on top of their washing machine or the table. And you can put a mat down, like a yoga mat, or there's a paw mat that will allow you to put it on top of something and the dog won't feel like they're slipping all over the place and they feel like they have a little bit more control. Now, the next thing is having your tools ready to go. So there are a few different kinds of nail clippers out there. I'm just leaning in to see. Okay. So we have large and small clippers, and these are the scissor type clippers or nail trimmers. This is also a classic nail trimmer. There is also the guillotine style nail trimmer, which I personally don't like the guillotine. I don't feel like I have as much control and I can't see as well, but that's all just personal preference and what you get used to. Some people will trim all nails with the big ones. I prefer the little ones up until I get a dog nail that's too big for them. So these also have a nail guard on them. I tend to just move that out of the way because you can't see how much you're taking off, and nails have a blood vessel in there, which is called the quick. Now, don't panic if you happen to make your dog bleed. It's like if we have a hangnail. Yes, it's uncomfortable. No, the dog won't die from it. So, of course, we avoid quicking the dog, which would make the dog bleed. However, it happens to the best of us. So always have a clotting agent, whether it's a Siptic powder, often known as Quick Stop, or the sticks, the Siptic sticks. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. So if you do happen to quick a dog, you have something right there because they do bleed a lot and it can look really bad because there's a lot of blood. And also, if you quick your dog every time you are doing the nails, that gives the dog a bad impression, and they think, oh, it's going to hurt every time I get my nails trimmed. So we want this to be a positive thing. We want this to be kind of an everyday thing, just like we brush our hair or brush our teeth, dogs get their nails done. So I've picked out my nail clippers, and if you have a spot available in your house that you can take your dog and let them stay on it, you can see I have a grooming loop on her. If you have a grooming setup and you can do this, great. I've seen people kind of finagle something with their cabinets, just to kind of give a little bit of, a resistance so the dog knows that it's here and it has something. Make sure you are not using a choke style. As you can see, this is just a loop. It's a plain loop. Do not use a choke style. that's self-explanatory, I think. So whether or not you have a loop is your choice, just about how much you want to get into and spend. So I always say, and this is a great thing with big dogs too, I do it like shoeing a horse. So I'm going to turn her a little bit so you guys can see. And I bring her foot up like this, and I can expose her nails, and I can see just how much I want to cut off. So I always recommend starting with itty bitty tiny pieces. Black nails, of course, are the hardest to see. And you actually have to look at the nail once you have cut it to see. And you can see a bit of the pulp, which is going to be the white stuff in there. And then you're going to cut it until you can see the black dot, which is the beginning of the quick. Now, some nails are lucky enough that they grow and you can physically see the quick underneath it, so you can cut right to it. Those nails are great. They're easy. Sometimes you have the completely clear nails that you can see the actual quick in it. Again, a lot easier. Black nails are a little bit tricky. So I have her like this. And what I'm doing is, she can also feel that I've got her secure with this arm right in here. I'm not wrestling her. I don't want to, squeeze her or anything like that. It would be great if she needed to have something to distract her. Somebody could feed her treats. She could have peanut butter on this, just to get her attention. But Nikki's an old pro at this. So come over, and you don't want to bend the leg over their head. You want to remember that the dog has a natural bend. You don't want to be lifting it up and out of natural order. And I know she's a little dog and I can't zoom in on this, but what I start by clipping either side of the nail at the very end of it, and I clip one at the top. And I just do this until I get her little tiny black dot there. And I know it's awfully hard to see for you guys, but trust me, it is there. And then depending on if you want to use a nail grinder, that's another choice. This is the Andis Grinder. It's great because it's adjustable as far as speeds. It's not very loud anyways, but you can see I can turn it all the way down and it's going slow and quiet. Great for puppies. So if you have a dog like my other poodle, Ozzy, which, let me switch him out. This is Ozzy. He's my mini poodle. And he gets his nails done once a week for sure, because he always gets a maintenance bath once a week. And so his nails are pretty short, and he also gets clean feet, so we may be able to see him a little bit better. But as you can see, these nails are pretty short, and I can see the quick just about in there. Maybe we see a little bit better on the front. No. But his quicks are right there. So if I start cutting with nail clippers, I'll more than likely hit a vein. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my nail grinder to trim his nails. But on Nikki, who I just cut one of her nails, we could then trim up the ragged edges so she won't scratch. A lot of clients will ask that, because once you cut those nails, you can have a really sharp edge if you've got kids or they jump up on your legs or anything like that. So, if you have a dog that's unsure, you can turn it down. And as you can see, I'm holding his body against me. And I work around the nail, taking all of those sharp edges off. And as you can see, he's used to this, so he's got it down pat. Now my pit bull dog, who does not like it, he has had training, like I said, for the last 6 years. So every day with that dog, I had been working on, and still do work on, his nails and his touch every day. So and it doesn't have to be when you first start out, you don't have to Dremel the first time. The first time could simply be turning on the nail grinder. Next one could be touching it to its foot. Something like that. You know, just to get dogs used to it. Of course, sniffing the nail cutters, getting them used to being in the room. You don't want to pull these out and have your dog run under the bed. That's the worst thing. So, you know, you want to make it a common thing. I'm just going to step over here to see if there's something. Okay, that's not a question, just a comment. So I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to ignore anybody. So, you know, the big dogs, that's where it can get a little bit tricky. Distraction is always the best. And, you know, I do also have a little tiny Chihuahua, and she does not want to be on the table. So when I do her nails, and now I know she doesn't bite me, I feel certainly secure with her, I am able to hold her like this and take her little nails and do them like this. So it does take a little bit of creativity to get a comfortable place where dogs feel comfortable getting their nails done. Just take a little sip of water. So the more you trim the nails, the shorter they will get. Whether you have a professional do it, which most salons and vets will offer walk-in service for nail trimmings and nail grinding. Other times, you know, people want to do it at home, which is perfectly fine. Either way, I will never, you know, have a problem with the home pet person wanting to maintain their dog at home, to help us maintain them in between groomings. It's great. It's a great bonding experience with your dog as well. And it's also a great bond and great trusting experience with your dog. So once you start trimming the nail, you want to make sure that you get as close to that quick as possible. And what I tend to do is, if this is the dog's nail, I try to clip off the side, and then the top. And if you're doing it all the time, you're not going to have to take a ton off every time. When you let the dog go for 6 weeks in between trimming nails, that's when you get really long nails and you have to cut them way back. Sorry, Nikki's just being a little nosy. So when you bring your dog to the salon after 6 or 8 weeks and you say, cut the nails as short as possible, believe me, groomers are cutting the nails as short as possible. They just don't want to hit that vein in there, the quick. So more often, the better. Next thing I want to talk to you about is trimming pads. That's the hair that grows on the bottom of your dog's feet. A lot of times if you have a very active dog, they'll run that hair off and break it off. My sister had a shepherd mix who used to go to work with her fiance, and until the dog stopped going to work with him, she never realized that the dog grew hair between its feet. So oftentimes a lot of older dogs have problems sliding around on the floor, and we want to keep that hair short. Now, there's a few different clippers and things like that that you can choose. You can choose to, I just took an Aussie up over here. You can choose to use scissors or a clipper. Now, Andis has a few different clippers out, professional and for the pet parent. So I have professional clippers, but you can find a comparable pair of clippers that are pet parent clippers. So first of all, we have a big gun clipper. Now this is a clipper that I use every day, all day. This is the Andis Pulse Li2 Galaxy. Now this would be a clipper that's going to be an investment, not just for pads. This clipper is for people who want to get more into grooming at home. If you have a poodle like Ozzy, if you're going to shave feet, face, things like that in between grooming, or if you're going to groom them completely, you want a nice heavy duty clipper that you can change the blades on, but it would be an investment. So I use either a 30 or 40 blade to cut the hair on my dog's pads. The blades are close, the teeth of the blades are closer together, so that prevents from nicking the dog. Next, I have our Andis 5-in-1 pulse. So the 5-in-1 is one blade, and it has 5 different length settings on the back here when I move this little ball back and forth. And you want to make sure that it's on the shortest setting for the feet. Again, same thing, it will make sure that the blade is as short as it can be, so less chance of cutting any of that flesh in between the pad. Lastly, I have my tiny itty bitty clipper. And this is a little tiny clipper. The blade does not come off. This is all you get. So this is something that I use on toy poodles. My Chihuahua likes this one. It's very quiet too. Puppies, but it's a very fine blade. So it's not, I wouldn't use this on doodle feet. This is for tiny little touch-up feet. So what I recommend, whether you're going to use a clipper or scissors, if you use scissors, please make sure that they are something that you can control easily in your hand. Now, groomers, you often see with big scissors like this. We also have little scissors. However, I was trained with my bigger scissors, so that's what I feel more comfortable with. They don't have to be an expensive pair of shears or scissors. There are plenty of shears out there for pet parents that you can buy, and I'm sure that Andis has a set as well. I have my handy Andis slicker brush, which is just a short pinned brush, and I have his paw pad. What I'm going to do is I'm lightly just taking and brushing any of that hair that's up in between his pads. He doesn't have a whole lot because he gets his feet shaved, and you can see he does have some hair in there. Now, if we don't keep maintenance of this hair, what is going to happen is that's going to get matted in there. I've actually shaved mats out of dogs' feet the size of an acorn, and it's amazing. You know, dogs can't tell us all the time that there's something wrong. Also, like sap at this time of the year, depending on where you are, those pine trees with the sap. So I'm going to pick my clipper. And what I recommend is that you come in and you just guide over the pads. So you're not digging in, and you see how I am using the edge of the blade. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. And this is also nice because it has speed control as well. So I'm going to come in and I'm just taking off any hair that's going to hang over that pad. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab either side on that toe, spread that V, and I'm going to go ahead and get in there with the clipper. And with anything automatic, always check the heat of your blade, because when you're new at this, when you're learning, you're going to have that blade running more than, say, I just did, and that's going to heat up your blade. Same thing with your grinder that I forgot to mention. Make sure that you're not on the nail with the grinder for a long time, because that creates heat and friction. So what I recommend is touch, touch, touch when you're grinding the nails down. My tongue doesn't want to work today. So make sure that you often change your sandpaper bit. You can either get just a piece that slides on, or you can look for a more, they have diamond head Dremels, They've got different kind of shaped grinder heads. So, you know, shop around, but the simple sandpaper one does a great job. You just might have to change it more often. I'm just gonna come over here and check if there's any questions. Of course, feel free. Okay, mostly just comments, but if you guys have any questions, of course, feel free. I hope that you did learn something. Same kind of technique for trimming with scissors. I would brush up the hair and then very carefully flush to the pads. Trim that down. Now, if you've got like a golden or something like that that gets those moppy feet on top, that's what's called giving cat feet. So you can also look up on how to properly trim those. Right now I'm just talking about the bottom of the feet. So if anybody else has any questions, now don't expect this to just happen overnight with your dog. Like I said, a lot of training has gone into this. And it's just simple things of touching feet, treating, getting the dog used to it. I say 90% of anything you do with your dog is training, and that's a broad term because it could be, you know, very simple things. Like I just started with my pit bull getting onto the table. That was a big breakthrough. So little tiny steps, and celebrate little steps. And you know, if you're over your head and you can't do it, definitely reach out to a professional, and they will try the best that they can to either help you out themselves or send you to somebody who can help you with your pet. So I hope you guys have learned something. Thank you for tuning in. If you want more information, you can always go to andis.com, where you can find any of these tools I used today. They also sell at many of the box stores and pet retailers. Also super distributors. Love Groomers is a great distributor for our Andis products. Frank Rowan Sons and Pedigree. I know they all have these Andis tools for sale. So, thanks guys. Happy loving on your pets, and hope to see you guys again soon.